she was just on the edge of the door frame. I noticed her as I stepped out of the shower and winced at the pain in my neck. Her body was metallic black with a speckle of beige, like grains of sand. She casually walked over her invisible web, appearing to defy gravity. "Don't get too comfortable," I said, wrapping a towel around my waist. "You're going out of the window as soon as I'm dressed." I wouldn't say I'm scared of spiders. I'd just rather they were outside my flat as opposed to making their own. Alright, they kinda give me the heebie-jeebies. I went to my bedroom and looked in the mirror, studying the bruises on my neck. I could hear my mom warning me of the dangers of letting strangers into my home. One time, I gave the slightest implication that I, a single grown man, occasionally have casual sex. It was ever so slight, but my mom doesn't miss a thing. Cue the embarrassing lecture. I got dressed, wearing the one roll neck jumper I owned to cover the bruises. I never thought it suited me. It was also very hot out, but those things hardly mattered under the circumstances. I returned to the bathroom with an empty drinking glass, encouraging my temporary housemate into it. When it was inside, I tipped the glass over onto the window ledge. The spider sat there motionless until I lightly touched its back legs, and it scurried away out of sight. I met my best friend Luke for a light lunch. He was sitting outside the cafe when I arrived, drinking an iced latte. He gave me a bemused look. "What's with the jumper?" he asked. "It's like 26 degrees out here." He was wearing a vest and bordering on obscene short shorts. I was overdressed in comparison. I sat down, shaking my head, explaining what happened the night before. I'd met sweet, handsome boy next door Mark. We'd been chatting online for weeks, though had only arranged to meet the night before. Initially, I thought we might have a proper date, go out for dinner or something. We got on so well, conversation was effortless. However, we were both in need of something a little more instantly gratifying, so I invited him over. It didn't take long to realize he was quite particular in what did it for him, despite having spoken at length beforehand about what we enjoyed behind closed doors. His hands closing around my neck sent alarm bells ringing through my head. I politely asked him to remove them. He laughed, his face an expression of hate and pleasure. He bared his teeth, and his handsome features became ugly and twisted. Every fine line of his face became a deep crevice, aging him years. My hand struggled as he pressed down on me, my face heating up as it became hard to breathe. We were of similar stature, though he overpowered me as if twice my size. And then it stopped, just like that. He released me as he got his release. My hands clung to my neck as I took deep breaths. The skin burned beneath them as they trembled. I pulled the jumper down slightly to show Luke the bruises. He said I had to go to the police. We'd had a dispute. I was still undecided about it. "Look," I said between bites of Caesar salad, "I'm here to tell the tale. Yes, it was fucking scary, but I may have given the wrong impression." "Dude, that's some fucked up Dahmer shit right there. You said no. He didn't stop. That ain't right." I looked around. Some others nearby were eavesdropping. "Jeez Louise, keep your voice down." We argued about it for a while, and I agreed to at least think about it as a compromise. "You'd feel awful if you found out someone else wasn't so lucky," he said. He was right, of course. I hugged him goodbye. We parted ways, and I made my way home, my sticky skin thanking me as I pulled the jumper over my head. I needed another shower. I happened to glance up at the bathroom doorframe and let out a surprised laugh. My 8-legged, sand-speckled trespasser had returned. I shook my head. "Why, you little... It's like that, is it?" She just sat there, motionless, as this big dumb human tried to communicate with her. "Fine. You can stay. But no funny business. I'm having another shower because I'm a sweaty mess. No peeking." As the days went by, I began to feel a strange comfort in the spider's presence. I named her Sandy due to her coloring, and because I'm anything but original. I'd find myself having one-sided conversations with her. "How's it going, bathroom buddy?" "It's too hot, Sandy." "Do you think I should redecorate?" When studying her up close, she was actually quite beautiful. I never thought I'd describe a spider that way, but she was. Her unusual markings and metallic appearance made her unique. I'd certainly never seen a spider like her before. One day, I received a text from Mark, asking if I'd like to meet again. I laughed at the absurdity of it and ignored him. Later that day, I received another message, just a bunch of question marks. So I responded with what I thought was a very civilized interpretation of "thanks, but no thanks." The messages just poured in after that, calling me every name under the sun, then apologizing, then back to aggressive. All because I didn't want to be at the hands of his harmful kink again. I didn't respond to any of them. Luke was coming over for a little day drinking in my communal garden. We had to take advantage of the warm temperatures while they were here. "Did you go to the police?" he asked, bottle of Corona in his hand. I shook my head. "Not yet, but before you go off on one, I think I will. Mark has been sending me a lot of abusive messages." I showed them to him. "Jesus, are you all right?" he asked. I shrugged. Let's just say I'll think twice before meeting another guy. Luke asked to use my bathroom before he left. I put the bottles in my glass recycling bag. We'd finished on 3 apiece, which I thought was very sensible. I heard the toilet flush, and Luke came out. "You had a gross spider in there," he said as he emerged. "But I got rid of it." "You didn't," I said, running past him to check the bathroom doorframe. Sure enough, Sandy was gone. "What did you do with her?" "Her?" he laughed. "It's a spider. It went down the toilet." I was upset. I turned to him and shook my head. "She was doing no harm. Why'd you have to do that?" He gave me a confused look. "I really worry about you sometimes. I'm out. Stay safe. Keep me updated on the psycho." I stood in the bathroom for a while, thinking that perhaps he was right. It was a bit strange that I was upset about Sandy. Though later that day, when she appeared back by the doorframe, I was pleasantly surprised. My heart even gave a little jump. "Takes more than a flush to get rid of a trooper like you, right, Sandy?" She sat motionless, her multiple shiny eyes staring at me. I waved my hand, dismissing her lack of response. "Glad you're back, buddy." Just as it started getting dark that evening, I took the bag with the glass bottles down to the bins. I left my flat door and the main building door ajar as I emptied my bag into the designated bin behind the building. I headed back upstairs, put my bag away in the store cupboard, then got comfortable on the sofa. I put on the television and started scrolling through Netflix when a voice came from behind me, giving me a fright. "It's rude not to respond. I thought you were a cool guy." It was Mark, standing in the doorway wearing a black hoodie, jeans, and Converse trainers. My stomach churned with dread. I felt my pockets for my phone, but I'd left it charging in my bedroom. I took a deep breath. "Please leave my home." I slowly stood up, my hand shaking. Mark made no attempt to move, shaking his head. I don't understand. We had so much fun together. You loved it. I let out a frustrated sigh. In what world do you think I loved what you did to me? You physically hurt me. You left bruises. He smiled. It's what you wanted, though. You're just one of those good boys that doesn't like to say. He made the quotation marks with his fingers. I shook my head and pointed behind him. Please leave now. He laughed. It's like that, is it? Okay. I'll play along. I made a quick dash to get past him, but he grabbed my arms, pushing me against my hallway wall. He grinned. You innocent boys always have the most fucked up fantasies. As fight or flight kicked in, I threw my head forward to meet his. I'd never headbutted anyone in my life. It fucking hurt, but it startled him enough to let me go. When you're in a scenario such as this one, your mind doesn't allow you to think logically. I had to pass my front door to get to my bedroom, but my priority at the time was to grab my phone. Before I reached my bedroom door, I was tackled around my waist. I hit the floor hard. It's carpeted, but my nose was the first thing to meet it. I felt warmth trickle down my lips, and the carpet absorbed spots of crimson. Mark forced me onto my back, his hands closing around my neck. He had an ugly grin on his face. That's it. Play hard to get. He pressed his body against me, and I felt his state of arousal. It drives me fucking wild. I raised my hands to hit at his face, though not with any particular force. I was disorientated from my fall. He turned his head and bit my left hand between my thumb and forefinger, hard enough to draw blood. My scream came out as a pathetic croak. Mark was pressing down hard on my neck and closing my throat. Tell me how you don't want this, he snarled, his hair falling onto his face. I couldn't speak or breathe. I began to see stars. In that moment, I accepted that this was how I was going to die. His was the last face I was ever going to see. Then I heard a loud hiss. Mark looked up, and his face instantly drained of blood. He emitted a scream that I'd never heard before, one of genuine terror. As quick as a flash, Mark was no longer on top of me, as the darkness blocked my vision. I heard more screams and an unpleasant wet sound, like loud chewing. The darkness retreated, and I could just make out a hint of Mark's jeans as they disappeared from view behind me. As I tried to get my breath back, I turned my head, my vision still a little blurry. But I could make out a large, metallic-looking dome with very distinct markings, like speckles of sand. My bathroom door was open. The darkness entered. I saw 8 glowing spheres as the light from the hallway reflected from them, and Mark hung like a rag doll from large mandibles. Then the door slammed shut. I was quite literally frozen in place. I couldn't move or comprehend what I had seen. It took me a good couple of hours before I sat up, my neck aching for the second time in as many weeks. I managed to get myself to the kitchen, my eyes fixed on the bathroom door before it was out of sight. I ran the tap and rinsed the blood from my trembling left hand, then splashed water onto my face. I cleaned up my nose and put plasters on my hand. That night, I slept in the living room, not wanting to go near the bathroom door. I even resorted to urinating in the kitchen sink. The next day, I was feeling a little braver. I put my ear to the bathroom door. I couldn't hear a thing. I slowly crept the door open and peeked inside. Nothing. I opened it fully and stepped inside, baffled. Then I turned to look at the corner of the doorframe. Sandy was in her web, facing me like she normally did. She had saved me from certain death. I genuinely believe she had found her way to me as a guardian of sorts. As I looked closer, I noticed a silk-wrapped cocoon, no longer than an inch. At the bottom of the cocoon, I could make out the tiniest pair of Chuck Taylors that you ever did see. She lived with me for a few more months, after which she died. I found her body on my bathroom floor one morning. I was overwhelmed with emotion. What I felt for that tiny creature I can only compare to losing a good friend. "Thank you, Sandy," I said as tears fell. It wasn't all that sad, though. In death, she left a gift in another tiny cocoon. Today, an uncountable amount of spiderlings hatched. As if it was planned that way, only one of them made a home in my bathroom. It has taken residence in the very corner of the doorframe where it hatched. My new, yet-to-be-named guardian. The rest of them found their way out of the bathroom window. If you happen to live in my neighborhood, you too could find yourself with your very own bathroom buddy very soon.